mean, there's a poll recently from Harvard-Harris showing that some 67% of people aged 18 to 24 said that the Jews were an oppressor class, which, in America, Jews represent approximately 7 million Jews in the United States out of 330 million Americans, tiny percentage of the population. But that ideology, that the Jews are an oppressor class, matches up very nicely and very closely with what is a conspiracy theory. At root, anti-Semitism is a conspiracy theory, and it's a conspiracy theory about power. And if you read Nazi literature, the Nazis literally promoted the idea that Jews were, of course, this small caste of people who were running all the major industries, who were standing behind all world power. Hitler's suggestion is that it was world Jewry that stood behind Germany's loss in World War I, and then the Allies' unwillingness to make a deal with Germany prior to World War II. And that theory of power and group identity is really ugly, and we see echoes of it today. I mean, the diversity, equity, and inclusion ideology that basically suggests that all of society is a vast pyramid of group identity, and that at the very top are the people who are successful, and that those people are exploiting everybody else. And we can tell who's successful by their group identity, not by their level of success, by their group identity.
Yes.
That matches up incredibly. It syncs up almost a Venn diagram circle with anti-Semitism.
Okay, so Ben is known for many things. Honesty is not being one of them. The right in America, unfortunately, considers him an intellectual. I think his brain in physical size would be this big, maybe, perhaps this big. Not much. He's a real idiot, but he's an evil idiot. Whatever little brain he has, this is what he uses it for, to spread Zionist propaganda and bullshit. So let's examine Ben's claim, yeah? I'm gonna just present the data, and you guys do your own conclusions. I'm in enough trouble with the algorithms, so I'm not gonna say much. Jews, as far as we can tell, are about 2 to 2.5% of the population. Muslims, 1 to 1.6. Of course, when we look at the Congress, there's the upper house, which is the Senate, and the lower house, which is the House of Representatives. The Senate has 100 members, the House of Representatives, 435. So if we look at their representation in the United States Congress, you will see that in the Senate, out of the 100 members, you have nine senators. That's 9%. How much are they of the population? Because, the Senate, the Congress or parliaments around the world, they're supposed to be a representation or a reflection of the population because they supposedly represent you. So from 2%, 2.4%, we have 9% in the Senate. And in the House of Representatives, which is the lower house, you have 26 members out of the 435. So that means it's 6%. 9 and 6%. Yeah? But even then, still okay, not a huge number. But bear with me. I'm gonna show you some more interesting stuff. The government is basically made up of 26 members, meaning ministers, what we call as ministers. They call them secretaries. Out of the 26, 25 are ministers, and only one is the vice president. Let's examine the past 4 presidents' cabinets. They're ministers, basically. They're advisors, the people next to them. This is the Jewish virtual library. I prefer to call it the Zionist online propaganda machine. It's very important that we keep differentiating between Judaism and Zionism. So this is George Bush's list of Jews operating in his cabinet. This also includes ambassadors, consultants. Look at this. Look how many ambassadors are there. Why is this important, you think? Because it helps to shape the United States foreign policy when everyone is so surprised why the United States is dead on, always supporting Israel. Aside that it's their forward military base in the Middle East, the two governments are very intertwined into each other. Many people, especially those called conspiracy theorists, some say Israel controls the United States, others say United States control Israel. Naturally, the superpower is what controls the smaller one at the end of the day. But the fact is, they're both controlled by a much smaller secretive group that controls way many more countries than just these two. But again, let's leave that. I'm just gonna show you simple stuff, yeah? What's online and easy to find, all open, nothing secret. Next administration, Barack Obama. And mind you, Bush had 2 terms, from 2001 to 2009. Obama, again, 2 terms. Look at all this. Obama had a very, very big expansion of Jewish members of his cabinet. Next administration, Trump. Interesting also to know that Ivanka, his daughter, married Jared Kushner, which was a part of his administration. Here he is, senior advisor. And she converted to Judaism. And they're so proud of it that Ivanka is the first member of the first family that is Jewish. They love to, they consider this stuff milestone. Biden, again, notice that in Trump's administration and in Bush's administration, they're much less, still a lot, but much less. That's because, if you didn't know, in the United States in general, the Jewish vote is 70 to 80% goes to the Democrat Party. So it's just, what color you wear, blue or red. At the end of the day, they're both wings of the same bird. It's the same death machine, the United States. This list is the list of Jews in American cabinets. Something interesting. So these were mixed positions. But when you look at the high-end cabinets, which is the equivalent of minister in the rest of the world, this is the current cabinet. You see here, there's Merrick Garland, Attorney General, Secretary of Homeland Security, Secretary of the Treasury, Janet Yellen, Secretary of State, which is the Internal Affairs Department or Ministry in other countries, Tony Blinken, who also served in previous cabinets. You'll notice here that Treasury under Biden, under Trump, under Obama, again in Obama's first term. Then you have here, in Bush it wasn't. In Bill Clinton, again, Secretary of Treasury. In Bill Clinton's first term, again, Secretary of Treasury. And Jimmy Carter. Here in between we have Ronald Reagan. He didn't have a Jewish Secretary of Treasury. I wonder, why always Secretary of Treasury? They criticize countries like Lebanon, for example, that are full of chaos and lots of nepotism and whatnot, where every religion, in the guise of parties, has a ministry in their name. Always their person has to come. Can I say it's the same over here? I don't know. I leave it to you. It's interesting because Secretary of the Treasury is basically a Ministry of Finance in other countries. Money, 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 money. Here's another list. We can go. We see George Bush, minimal. Barack Obama, huge list. Joe Biden, huge list. It's just insane. These are the lower levels. These are ministers basically without portfolio, they call them in other countries, which they don't head a specific cabinet. So yeah, Ben can say whatever he wants. And I can show you whatever I want, and you make up your minds. They can keep calling it conspiracy theory, whatever.